A good 9 months after the presentation of the new Tesla Model 3 Highland, the performance variant is finally here and we can show it to you exclusively for the first time in Germany in this video. And with that, hey, and welcome to this exciting new video here at Car Jonas, and welcome to the initial impression and review of the outstanding Tesla Model 3 performance. No, not a plaid variant, even though this logo here kind of resembles the top version of the Model S. The Model 3 is still called Performance, goes from 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, and has 460 horsepower. We can take a detailed look at the vehicle today, thanks to Tesla Munich and thanks to Uli from New Arrow, because he's got the car for the weekend to check it out. And he asked me, Jonas, do you want to make a video about it? And since we won't get the press car for a detailed review until a few weeks, we're showing you the vehicle here today. That's why make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the detailed everyday test. Also feel free to check out Uli and the rims from the New Arrow just below the video. For one, you save 10%, and for another, they are super cool. The most beautiful aero wheels for the Model 3, also for the new Highland. It's worth checking out below the video. Even if it comes with 20 inches here, it could be an option for the winter rims. And now we'll check out the entire vehicle in the rotor. Unlike the old performance model, everything has been sharpened up. The front no longer has this completely cleaner design, but rather left and right air intakes, which make this vehicle look a bit more aggressive and also wider. And in the lower area, there's a new front lip, which pulls the car forward again. And through this black element here that stretches from the side, it makes it even more aggressive, and it clearly gains a distinctive appearance and enhanced performance. Like, it's clearly and noticeably flatter, although it's not really lowered that much. Just like the regular Model 3, there are the new badges here. The Matrix headlights, well, you're not supposed to call them Matrix, they are adaptive headlights that can mask out preceding vehicles and oncoming traffic. It was just improved again with an update and is at a really good level, considering that every vehicle gets it standard and for free. The front is basically identical at the top. They really worked on it down here. While other manufacturers modify the sills for sport versions, Tesla thought, let's just leave it as it is. We're currently putting on new 20-inch forged wheels. They have these small plastic inlets and look really good. They depend a bit on the size and of course also the shape of the aerodynamics. But at just 11 kilograms, they're really light. Behind them you can see the beautiful red brake calipers. We already know this from other performance models. For example, the Model Y also comes with red brake calipers. We won't be able to thoroughly test today how well they perform in everyday life. For that, as I said, the everyday test is still coming. Personally, I like the layout, and as I said, feel free to thoroughly check out the New Arrow for more exciting details. Either if you're not going for performance or for this in winter, more has been done at the rear. Firstly, the already sporty diffuser, which we could also see in the standard Highland versions, has been slightly adjusted again, sticks out a bit more, and undoubtedly appears sportier as a result. And of course, a carbon spoiler at the top is a must for any high-performance version. It's not just a simple curve anymore, but it has a slight structure and incorporates the sideline. Looks quite cool and especially brand new. I'm feeling really curious about when exactly the very first DIY versions for the regular Model 3 will finally become readily available for everyone out there. But I think it always looks stylish, and especially in the side profile, it pulls the vehicle nicely back, and it's also supposed to add some aerodynamic benefits. As mentioned earlier, the badge comes standard in the advanced performance version. It seems like he always has it, and not just here at the start, carrying it with him. In the plaid versions, it was like that. First the badge, then the lettering, then again the badge. We'll see how that scenario plays out in the near future. The Tesla lettering is now completely spelled out, and the rest? From the rear, it's identical. I really like these taillights that open with the lid, adding a sleek, modern touch to the design. Underneath, there's a total stowage volume of 682 liters, which is identical to the regular Model 3. I always think it's great that you have storage space down here. We recently had the standard range in for testing, and I always find it remarkable how much you actually get with it. Additionally, there's the typical Tesla frunk, which can easily hold about 90 liters of storage. So there's quite a bit in there. I'm not sure if it already has the 682 liters factored in, but I'm sure what I find unfortunate is that the trunk lid only opens as a lid rather than allowing full access. Sure, that doesn't fit with a performance variant, and since we're already talking about the Model 3 standard range, I find it remarkable what prices Tesla is currently calling for. The standard Venge starts at around 40,000 euros, and this one is priced at 57,000 euros. With all this power, still over 520 kilometers of range, and those 3.1 seconds from 0 to 100, 740 Newton meters of torque. It's just crazy what Tesla puts on the road. A BMW M3, since we are shooting here in Munich, let's use it as a reference, is significantly more expensive and has less power. And you really have to wonder why on earth you wouldn't simply take this one. The interior was also newly adjusted, not in its basic structure, meaning we still have this 15.4-inch display here through which everything operates. Let's look at a few important points right away, but there are just one or two small details that have changed. For example, this carbon application here at the front used to be a fabric variant in the previous new Model 3. And here's a tip: if you're interested in installing carbon parts in your vehicle or generally looking for accessories for a Tesla, then feel free to check out Shop for Tesla below the video. Not because I want to advertise too much now, but because they have a special promotion going on. You also get 5% off with the code JONOS below the video on orders over 150 euros. Also another 15 euros off, that makes it doubly worth a visit. So if you want carbon in your Tesla, feel free to check it out, they do have real carbon. Otherwise, here in the doors, there's either this black Alcantara or a white element, and there are unmistakably new sports seats with extra padding for increased comfort. They also have this specific logo, as we could clearly see in the back, and a very, very distinctive and unique shape. And it's really unusual to see sports seats from Tesla. Usually it's always been different. That all the vehicles had the same seats, and even if you could accelerate from 0 to 100 in 2.1 seconds with the Plaid, you were still sitting in the same seats as in a regular Model S. By the way, it currently has comfortable sports car seats. And they're really something. They offer quite good lateral support, kind of remind you of BMW seats in their shape. Up here again with the shoulder elements, the seat surface itself, however, it is rather soft in texture, almost typically American. They always have very, very soft seats, and they remind me of the seating surface as if they almost kept the same seat structure as in the regular Model 3. Personally, I really like this small, cute steering wheel. So the seats, of course, have heating and ventilation, standard in the performance version here. The steering wheel is also unchanged. That means you still have to signal here, you have all the shortcuts and so on. But in terms of feel, it's very, very well done. And then there's the display. Presenting now a new software, you can display the vehicle large while stationary and then quickly access all information here, for example. Or choose this classic view along with the map of a very, very good route planning with charging stops, where I just missed that you can, for instance, specify a certain percentage at the destination or also set a limit, like how much you still want to have at the supercharger. Otherwise, the vehicle preconditions, but it also does everything that you would expect from a well-designed and efficient modern electric car. And here in the performance variant, there's not just casual and standard in the dynamics section, but also the ludicrous mode, which adds a significant boost to acceleration. Let's check it out right away. And there's the track mode, which when I turn on the vehicle here, also provides new features. For one, you can set things up intelligently now in various settings, tailoring each option. That means you can, for example, easily make a steering adjustment. Do I want more oversteering, more understeering? How should the stability assist be? What should the regenerative braking ideally be like? And you can already hear the whole vehicle is now meticulously preparing itself for track mode. And it's now completely revamped in the 3rd generation. And you also have all the necessary and essential information on temperature and tire pressure and so on in order to be able to drive safely on the track with confidence and precision. I don't want to go into detail about that now. Unlike the front, nothing has changed at the back seats. That means both the layout and the seat cushions are identical to the standard Model 3. So they just swapped the seats. But the major drawback is you don't have a pouch or any sort of storage here to keep your belongings. That means you have the entire backside and additional restrictions as the seats extend more in width, which can make the fitting of everything more difficult. But also here, the seams, everything's neatly done and it feels exceptionally good, almost perfect. Overall, it must be said that the Model 3 from Chinese production is really at a very, very high standard. I mean, not much has changed compared to the others, and they've been made for 3/4 of a year, but this one really packs a punch. Just like in the front, there's a display back here too. You can use it to control the climate or, for example, move the passenger seat. And of course, there's also the media aspect. I can watch YouTube videos back here, I can make settings, and now also, for instance, with Bluetooth headphones. I find it very, very practical, even though I always wonder who's actually watching videos down there, because it's just not the most natural position. There's also a center armrest with 2 cup holders when you fold down the middle seat, and you really have a lot of space back here, benefiting, of course, from this huge glass panoramic roof. You already know all that, so let's jump ahead and talk about what has actually changed on the vehicle. Tesla introduces an advanced adaptive suspension in the Model 3 Performance for the very first time. The Model S and X already had air suspension, but other vehicles had standard steel suspension. Now, for the first time, there's adaptive suspension offering a much smoother and more comfortable ride than before. It's like a DCC, such as from Audi or Volkswagen, among other brands in the automotive industry. So depending on the oil flow, the suspension can be adjusted to feel either softer or stiffer, thus making it either more comfortable or more dynamic, and Tesla has executed this really exceptionally well with their innovative technology. First and foremost, there are the new driving modes. So now there's also insane mode, and it really pushes you insanely into the seat, accelerating away from the traffic light, and we're experiencing some real traction issues here with just a slight wetness on the pavement, and the warning sign at the back is justified, especially because it's a bit like a small flat tire, which makes it tricky to handle smoothly. Dude, it's really jumpy. You press it slightly and suddenly the car just shoots forward instantly like it's got a turbo boost. What does the curve do then? The rear comes around quite nicely. Sure, it's a bit wet here now, so something happens, which is not surprising, but that was pretty tail heavy for such conditions, making it even more noticeable. Here's another curve. I think you can get the rear to slide out well, even without track mode. So the question is how to dose it or how it performs on dry roads. We will thoroughly test that for you to ensure accuracy. All right, jumping from 0 to 100 and then go. Dude, whoa, that's just incredible. Yes, it works. And the really important thing is the performance here on the highway. So far, I have always sort of said that all Tesla Model 3 models, especially the new ones, don't feel as stable on the road starting from 160, 170 km/h. And that's exactly the crucial point where you need to convince them. How is the new performance when you actually step on it? 170, I have the feeling the number above is higher. And it's much more stable. So here, 210, he can go 262 km/h. We can take a look together. He remains much more stable right over there. The rear end of the car is still slightly loose, 257 km/h. The road appears to be dry now. There's slight play in the steering wheel, but that's still better than what Tesla had in earlier Model 3 versions, and it feels more refined. Now, the most important thing, then the brake. And it really engages exceptionally well the very first time you brake here. So braking down quickly from over 200 to 170, it really handles that well. And then the important thing is not just constantly driving fast, but also having this kind of spread. So how does it handle on an extended stretch, 160 overall performance? And it does a really good job. If you steer hard here, you can manage to sway it just a little bit more for better handling and precision. But that's really within the bounds and not such that I'd now say, please don't drive fast even with the performance. It would be very questionable if after months a new performance variant were to come out now and it didn't look notably sportier or more advanced than the regular Model 3 versions, which are known for their sleek and stylish design. And then just go 120 here, signal left and accelerate out. There's still a lot that can come out, so you can see here it pulls up nicely, giving it a polished and refined look. And here 170 as well, so it really pushes me into the seat. That packs quite a punch. Ford's 60 horsepower isn't really that much anymore if you think about it. There's the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, there are other various models. There are also, for example, NIO ET5 and so on, so many competitors. The BYD Seal additionally has a great deal of power, but this current model really pulls you into the seat and moves forward properly. And the noise level is also within acceptable limits. We have fully double glazed windows. I have a really comfortable seating position right here. It's so much fun, I can easily imagine myself going on a longer and enjoyable journey with it. Consumption values and so on, of course, are not available today. Please understand that. But if I can only test the car here for a few hours to get a first impression, it's more about what the differences are and what the suspension does. And that is actually quite good. I like it. It gives you a good impression. And you always have to keep the price in mind, it's just important. But here, with 20-inch rims and presently 19 degrees outside, and no matter how many times I accelerate here, it doesn't restrict the acceleration bar for me in any noticeable way whatsoever. Some of you may have noticed, it's no longer the acceleration at the top, but instead it's located right here on the left side. But then there's this bar in there, a bit more oriented towards the bicycle, and of course it ensures that you have more space at the top for speed. And if I'm already stealing his car, let's put him next to it for a moment. Uli, thank you so much for allowing us to test drive the Model 3 performance car, which we found to be incredibly impressive. That's really cool, and why not just quickly capture our impressions here together? So, how do you feel now having driven a Tesla for years and suddenly there are performance variants that look different? It's a step, isn't it?
Well, I would say compared to my P90D Ludicrous from late 2016, early 2017, 35% increase, 40% perceived quality, and consequently the felt quality is significantly improved overall. And that's kind of like a strong first impression that significantly impacts you deeply on so many different levels. This is noise cancelling. This is acceleration. This is the feeling. The road seems to transmit directly to the steering wheel. So very, very well done. Very, very mature.
I agree, you have fewer of those vibrations and such. You barely feel anything on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah.
briefly hit 260 on the highway. It works great. What I haven't figured out is with the adaptive chassis, that will only make adjustments here, because otherwise there is nothing. So even in track mode, I can't make the adaptive harder or softer.
I guess it's kind of, well, calling it AI-headed might be too much, but it adapts to your driving characteristics. It calculates an average value and adjusts its suspension accordingly. Therefore, this is the simplified version of Plaid, designed for better efficiency.
But there you have it with the air suspension. And here it's simply managed through the dampers, basically. But that's already one way to handle these kinds of situations.
What also impressed me are those small but important details like the brake pedal's return travel. Very nice. So if you don't own a Plaid, you will definitely not notice it precisely right now.
No, absolutely not.
This is unreal. This is another world. Yes,
It's Plaid.
absolute Plaid character. What they have incredibly adjusted and fine-tuned, I think, is the sound calibration of this car, making it truly remarkable.
Also the sounds,
When you get in, when you drive really slowly, that's sound design in my opinion.
they act now not
What is perceived outside but transmitted to the driver inside. An exceptionally finely tuned technical machine. That's quite good. Even when you press it, this slight metallic piece.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. But I actually much prefer experiencing this over all that artificial stuff they have. So I'd rather have this engine, which can reveal a bit about itself, than anything else. That he's in the second row too. Also, these parked cars would be more... That was also way ahead, you know? All these steep slopes here, it's crazy. It wasn't like that either. That's almost on the level of all the leadership systems nowadays. That's actually pretty cool. Tesla doesn't give out any information itself about battery capacity. Rumor has it the vehicle has 78 kilowatt hours, and from that, you can then use 75. Now, you might say there are 1 or 2 vehicles on the market, for example, a NIO ET5, which comes with 100 kilowatt hours. Why didn't Tesla invest significantly more into it? And why is it still the very same battery we've had in the older versions before? That's a question for a completely different video. Here, the primary focus was mainly on performance and overall looks and appearance, because the vehicle charges just as fast as its predecessors at 250 kilowatts. It should go from 10 to 80% in under 30 minutes. We'll find that out for you in a detailed everyday test. I found it really good. It's super cool to be able to show you the vehicle right here at market launch in the very first impression. Super excited for your feedback in the comments. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to the channel to avoid missing this in the future. It aids us greatly in our work to make this dream a reality here. And otherwise, feel free to check up here for our daily test of the regular Tesla Model 3. And down here you see when I drove the old Roadster for the first time.